Recently, I did a review on Hedd's Type 05 core monitors that I gave an outstanding review of. I found those set of monitors to be absolutely flawless. Now, when I'm looking at these things, please understand I'm putting it in its price range. You know, I think we've got to compare apples to apples when we do this. And having had the chance of assessing a lot of different monitors by different manufacturers, I can honestly say that these are the best in that price range I've heard. And from my opinion, it's not even close. So I encourage you to go back and watch that video if you're curious about today. What we're going to be talking about is Hedd's Type 05 MK2 set of monitors that give you the ability to go well beyond the Type 5 core, okay, or Type 05 core. And so I'm going to get into that in a minute. Every opinion that I had on the Type 05 core monitors, again, that was a previous review, applies to this one. So you go back and watch that and consider that kind of the foundation of the principles of these set of speakers. And I'm going to be talking about some of the differences between those two and why these may be a better choice for you in your studio. So please go back and check that out. Before I get to that, I need to talk about today's sponsor, and that is me. I don't take outside sponsorships. I sponsor my own videos. If you go to www.artisanwoodshed.com, you'll see I make all kinds of enclosures for various control surfaces, whether it's Softube's Console 1 MK3 or their Fader MK3, or if you go into PreSonus's Fader Port 8 or Fader Port 16. I also have them for Avid's S1 series and Dock, any combination of. There's lots of them out there. There's also out there for the CS12 control surface, and I'm adding more and more and more as I continue to grow. Now, what I do is I make these in my wood shop out in my detached garage. So I make them all by myself. I design them. I ultimately make them. I do all the finishing work to them, and well, my wife helps me out by boxing them up. So anyway, go check that out at www.artisanwoodshed.com. Now, one thing I got into recently is 3D printing. You can see back over here, I've got one for my RME ARC series. See how that's set at an angle there? Over here, I've got one for my Loop Deck CT that I use for video editing. A lot of you may use a Stream Deck, and I'll be making one for that coming out pretty soon. I recently did a review of Antelope Audio's, let me take that name off, the Zen Quadro Pro. And so I made an enclosure for it to sit on your desk, and you really can kind of get really a nice little angle to it while you're looking at it so you can see what's written on the screen. Now, I do plan to even try this at a 30-degree angle and see, but there are some limitations depending on the device. I've got them out there for all kinds of different devices. If you go to the website, check under the store under 3D printing, and you'll see all of those options available. But for something like this that connects on the front, going at a higher angle is going to make it a little bit more difficult to plug things in and out unless I raise it up. So you can give me some feedback on that as well if you don't mind. So anyway, again, go to www.artisanwoodshed.com, and what you're going to find are some beautiful enclosures that really give a very nice look, really professional look to your studio. And quite frankly, they're very economical, probably the most economical of this quality that is out there today. So go check that out. And I also have affiliate links to Sweetwater as well as Thomann, and those are in the link down below, as is the website. If you go down there and choose either one of those companies as your source, and there's Sweetwater, whatever you put in the cart, I'll get a tiny cut of, and it's one of the ways that helps sustain me. So the same thing over at Thomann. You really support me and help me out by doing that. You can find those links in any of my videos if you want to continue to support me. Also, you can support me by going to www.artisanwoodshed.com and checking out and maybe consider purchasing something over there for your studio that I think you'd be very, very, very happy with. Nothing but 5-star reviews. I've not had a single review below 5 stars. Not one. And I'm proud of that. All right. Okay. So again, I encourage you to go back and look at that video of the Type 05 core before watching the Type 05 MK2, because I'm going to talk about the differences here in a second, but it's going to be important that you go back and understand the fundamentals of that and then get all of my thoughts and things on that set of monitors. Again, they will apply to this one. If you remember from watching the 05 core video, you know, some people are not working in properly treated rooms or kind of half treated rooms and things like that. And so what you do with that set of monitors is you can adjust the bass, the low, and the mids on the back of it to kind of dial it in with a reference mix so that when you mix something in your studio and you go out to your car or other source of listening to, your AirPods, your headphones, or whatever it may be, it's consistently done across the board. And so those monitors give you an outstanding results with that. However, if you are in a properly treated room, these monitors have the ability to control a lot of different frequencies digitally. That's what the DSP means in this set of monitors. So traditionally in my studio, I've used Adams monitors. I started out with the A77Xs and then moved on recently to the A77Hs, which is the next version of those set of monitors. Both of those monitors had the ability to be able to dial in your frequencies via DSP, via digitally controlled from a computer or app or things like that. You can also do it manually on the back of these as well. These monitors have the ability to do that. If you are in a properly treated room, what you really want, and if you don't know this, or maybe you don't know this already, but in a perfect world for your studio monitors, you want a perfectly flat curve. Or you don't curve, you want your frequencies perfectly flat. So as an example, when you get a set of headphones or your car stereo, you crank up the bass, maybe a little bit the treble or whatever, because you want that thump and bass. Well, what you'll see is a lot of stereo speakers that are not designed for studio work, and still have a bump in the low end, typically a dip in the mids and a bump in the high ends to really kind of already start out, because that's the way most people are going to ultimately dial it in once they get them. But you want to be able to make those decisions in your studio in a perfect flat frequency response, as close to it as possible. Now with the Type 05 core, you really can't get it perfect. There's still going to be some fluctuations with it, as you would expect from monitors in that price range. However, in these, you can control all of that via DSP that's built into the speakers. It'll allow you to go out and really dial in the perfect frequencies across the board. So if you're doing an analysis on your studio and it's telling you that you've got too much low end in this frequency, so dial that back this many dB or whatever, you can adjust that to get it perfectly dialed in for your room. This gives you the ability to do that. And this does that in a price range that's pretty phenomenal if you think about it. Now, these also have the ability to do portless or ported. If you want it ported, that's the way they come. They have a little cap that you can put in the ports and then change a dial on the back of the monitor to let it know you're in non-ported mode. So when it's ported, you're going to be able to get a lot more thump, a lot more low end out of these speakers. Whereas if you do it non-ported, it's going to give you really that kind of, almost think of Yamaha NS10s. Not quite, but we all know that the mix is done in the mid-range. It's not done in the low end. It's not done in the high end. The mix is done in the mid-range, and then you bring everything else in around that for most genres of music. So you want to be able to do that. So you may want to go back and forth between that to see kind of what that feels like and sounds like in your studio. Now, one of the things special about this, I mentioned these in the Type 05 core, as well as the Type 05 core MK2, which is these monitors back over there, is they share that beautiful ribbon design tweeter that was designed by a gentleman who worked at Adam Audio. If you notice, it's the exact same looking exact same looking tweeter as what you have in your Adams. I have them in my Adam A77H as an example. That gentleman, once he left Adam Audio, has formed a company with his son. And so they've taken that tweeter design, because he owns the rights to it, and incorporated it into these and made it even a little bit even better. So these things really, really, really have a gentle and soft high end, nothing harsh about them. And really the clarity is spot on with it. I mean, really, it is unbelievable what you can get out of monitors in this price range. Now let's talk about price range. I think from memory, I think the Type 05 core are around $699. So you're going to spend $1,400 for a set of monitors for the Type 05 core. These are $1,199. So you're going to spend a little bit more. All right, you're going to spend a little bit more, but you're going to get so much more out of it. And if you can afford to swing that, I would encourage you to save up a little bit more and go with these, because it will truly be a set of monitors that's going to last you for a very, very long time. And then of course you can mash that up with a subwoofer in your studio, really get that properly dialed in. These monitors could last you for years and years and years and years and years without the need to feel compelled to go to another set of monitors. Okay. So I like I said before, in the Type 05 core, right? And the Type 05 MK2, which is these, they both sound absolutely phenomenal in their price range. The low end is there. It's punchy. I couldn't believe that I could get that much depth out of a 5-inch woofer, but they figured it out and they've done it. The mid-range, oh man, that's where the beauty of these monitors come through. You can really, really, really hear every aspect of the mid-range, so you can find those instruments or those sound sources that are coming in and kind of competing at various frequencies. It makes it so much easier to dial those in and out to where they blend together properly and kind of glue in there. And the high end, as I said before, it's a polished, sweet sounding high end, not brittle, not harsh. I think what Hedd Monitors has done, or Hedd Audio has done, is created a fabulous set of monitors in this price range. They're actually known for monitors that are much more expensive, but these are their entry level into the home studio market. And I think they've completely hit it out of the park. Again, this is who I would get if I could save the extra money. However, if I'm on a tight budget, and I certainly understand out there many of you are, then go with the Type 05 core. Later on, that's something that you could sell, retain much of its value, and then go and buy these later on, okay? Or maybe they've got the MK3 version. Who knows where they're going to be at that time in your journey. But I cannot stress enough how much I think both sets of these monitors are absolutely phenomenal. I rarely, if ever, and I mean if ever, give this kind of review on a product. I can almost always 99.9% of the time, I can find flaws, things, even if I'm getting down to nitpicking in a product. But I can't have them with this. I just don't, I can't find any. I have none. Again, considering its price range and what it brings to the table is absolutely amazing. And you cannot go wrong. So I strongly encourage you to check these monitors out. Again, you can check out my affiliate links. I have one to Sweetwater here in the US, or Thomann if you're over in Europe. These may not be on Sweetwater's website. However, give your sales rep a call up. He can have them shipped and sent to you directly, no problem. If you do that, it gives me a tiny little cut, and it helps sustain this, along with supporting www.artisanwoodshed.com. If there's anything you ever need when it comes to that, just reach out to me. Use the contact form on the website there. If there's anything you'd like me to look into possibly making for you or designing that would have mass appeal, I'm always looking for things like that. So send that to me. But until next time, I hope every one of you have a great day.